What's up, ladies and gents, Ghost here, back with some more Battlefield, and today, as you might imagine, we are going to be taking a look at the Battlefield Hardline beta. Yes, like other YouTubers, I will be covering this game as well. Now, I would like to point out that, don't worry, I'm not going to be stepping away from Battlefield 4 by any means, but you can expect quite a bit of Hardline content over the next few days. The beta only lasts for 5 days, so I am going to be trying to play the game as much as I can, get videos out, and I'm going to be doing streams and sort of shifting my focus to that game for the next few days or so. But once the beta is ended, no doubt I will be going back to Battlefield 4 just as much as before. In any case, with that said, in the background here, we have the most deadliest weapon on the battlefield, and that is actually the scout helicopter. So as I'm sure you're all aware, in Battlefield Hardline, really the weapons and the firepower are dumbed down a lot. You don't have all of these powerful vehicles like the jets, the tanks, etc. And the outcome of that on a 64-player Conquest server like you're seeing in the background here is that the scout helicopter is actually the most powerful vehicle in your team's arsenal. I was having an absolute blast flying this thing around. I suppose it may be because I enjoyed flying the jets. Maybe that's part of the reason I'm enjoying flying the scout helicopter here in Hardline. But I think one reason I really like it is because I've just never really enjoyed flying the helicopters in Battlefield 4. There were just so many threats to you as a helicopter pilot. You have the enemy jets, you had the enemy scout heli, the enemy attack heli, who had heat seekers, by the way. You had the AA tank with active radar missiles. You had any engineer out there on the field running around with stingers and igglers. So I found flying the scout helicopters in Battlefield 4 just a complete disaster. I didn't enjoy it in the slightest. But in Hardline, the amount of firepower that the enemy team has to deal with a scout helicopter is significantly reduced. So it pretty much comes down to this. The enemy team has a scout helicopter, which of course is quite adept at taking you out, and then you have a couple of battle pickups around the map. So the mechanic class, which is the new name for the engineer, no longer gets RPGs or SMORs or any kind of lock-on missiles, but there are battle pickups. So on the map, I found one SMOR lying around which has one shot in it, so you have one shot chance to try and take out the scout helicopter. There's a Stinger that has a few missiles as well. That's actually probably the biggest threat. But once you learn at what flag that Stinger spawns and where the infantry that may have the Stinger is probably going to be around, it becomes easier to avoid lock-ons. Now you might say, well, this sounds, on the other hand, to be kind of OP. How are you supposed to take out the helicopter? Well, on the contrary, it doesn't really feel like it. I have also been at times under fire from the enemy scout helicopter, and it didn't really annoy me all that much. It is sometimes difficult to get to take them out, but the vehicles in the game now all take damage from small arms as well, so with enough firepower you can actually focus them down, and it's also a lot easier to shoot out drivers and pilots. Now with that said, let's talk weaponry and seats, because those are some of the things that have changed here in the scout heli. So you'll notice that there are only 2 seats at the moment, and one of them is the primary flying and gunning seat, and the other one is actually a secondary gunner seat. There is a small minigun mounted on the front of the helicopter, and I did actually have some footage of me in the secondary gunner seat. Somehow I managed to lose it or delete it or something, so apologies for that, guys. But essentially what it is a minigun. Yeah, you can be a secondary gunner now on the scout helicopter, which is pretty cool. It's quite difficult, as you can imagine, because the scout helicopters even faster than the attack helicopters, of course, so all the time you're being shunted here, there, all over the place and everywhere, and you're trying to line up your shots on a target. Gunning in the secondary position is harder than you might think, but it's definitely something that's quite cool. Now, another thing that really balances them out is the fact that, of course, there are no passenger spots, so repairing in scout helicopters is a thing of the past. They do still have auto repair, but as you notice here, if I go off to the deployment, when I get to around 50% armor, it takes a long time to repair. So even if you go to auto repair, or even if you happen to be a mechanic and you land and repair, it's going to take you out of combat and out of the battle for quite a long time. Also, just to quickly comment on the main cannons here, it really doesn't give much information as to what cannons they are, apart from that it's a heavy machine gun. Now, a lot of people were miffed that the 25mm cannons with the splash damage were not going to be making it from Battlefield 4 into Battlefield Hardline, but I'm not sure about this, but I can tell you guys that it really feels like this heavy machine gun definitely has a considerable amount of splash. I know it kind of sounds a bit like a pea shooter when it fires, but believe me, I'm not the best aimer in the world when it comes to being in scout helicopters, and I just don't think that the amount of kills that I'm getting here is down to some beginner's luck. I'm almost certain that there's quite a considerable amount of splash on the main cannon. So even though the 25mm haven't actually made it into the game, I sort of feel like these cannons are a bit of a cross between the 20mm and the 25mm from BF4. So yeah guys, just a few thoughts I wanted to share with you guys. I tried to put out some content that I think not many other YouTubers are going to cover about the beta, so you know, I thought some aircraft stuff might be up your guys' street. Feel free to leave me some requests down below as to what you would like to see content-wise from the Battlefield Hardline beta for me, and I'll do my best to accommodate any of those requests that you guys leave for me. Otherwise, I do have some interesting stuff planned. I suppose it depends somewhat on which unlock path I take, because Battlefield Hardline doesn't have a linear unlock system. You essentially amass in-game cash, and you can spend that cash on whatever unlocks you want, whether it be gadgets, accessories, or weapons. Anyway guys, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you all have a fantastic day. If you haven't yet tried Hardline, go and download the beta now and give it a try. It is a lot of fun, and yeah, I'll tell you guys more about that in the next video anyway. So cheers guys, and I'll see you next time.